It's easy to get in that hole, it's not so easy to get out of it. In my head, where I play my play, while God sits back and watches us, and while the stars ain't glow on LCDs and it's his favorite show.
The Detroit Tigers are in the middle of a free fall early on in the 2026 MLB season. And with their ace and franchise player Tarik Skubal on the last year of his contract and likely not to return, it looks like it might be time for the Detroit Tigers to commit to a full fire sale. It's definitely not where I think Tigers fans thought they would be at the beginning of this season, but it was always a possible reality. If things didn't go their way, they needed to get the most assets they could get in return for Skubal. And thankfully, not all hope is lost in Detroit. Despite the failures of the pitching staff and their roster this early, they do have Kevin McGonigle, who is going to be possibly the Rookie of the Year in 2026, and then further down, definitely the franchise player of the Detroit Tigers to build around for the future. And so today, we are going to commit to a full fire sale of the Detroit Tigers, trying to put them in a better position to build around Kevin McGonigle, as well as their prospects, Max Clark, Bryce Rayner, Jose Bracino, and whatever other players they think might be able to process inside their system. And so the first matter of business is going to be deciding what our targets are in order to try to build around McGonigle and get the most assets possible. Because so many of the players on the roster have expiring deals or are near the ends of their deals, we are willing to fire everybody and get rid of every single player on this roster and try to get as many top 100 prospects in as possible. Right now, the Tigers have McGonigle, Max Clark, and Bryce Rayner. I guess actually Jose Bracino is also still in the top 100, but they don't have much more beyond that. And two of them being shortstop, they might need some outfielders and some other positions. We had to decide what value we can get for every player that we have on our block. And so my dream goal is to get a top 10 prospect in all of baseball, but I know that's going to be a difficult challenge to do. The teams that can afford Skubal and the teams that are contenders don't always all have these top prospects on their rosters. And when you take a look at the ones who do, maybe Jesus Mate of the Milwaukee Brewers or Jose DePaula of the Los Angeles Dodgers, the question is, are those teams going to be willing to give that much up for a half a season of a left-handed starting pitcher? And so we're going to start this season off as normal, playing with the roster that we have given to us to start off this season. However, by the trade deadline, this team will look significantly different than it does right now. So before June 15th, we're going to load up our entire trade block with every single player that is on either the end of their deal or with a year or two of team control left, and try to trade every single one of these players. We want to have, by the end of this, an entirely new starting pitching lineup, as well as an entirely new lineup to build around McGonigle.
Fire sale!
So now, with probably the most successful fire sale in the history of Major League Baseball, we have added Walcott, Seth Hernandez, Walker Jenkins, Jose De Paula, Caleb Bonham, Zaire Hope, Elmer Rodriguez, and Carlos LaGrange, Cam Collier. Look, this is going to be fantastic. I think we have a really, really good future now. And so this lineup at this point, getting before the deadline, before even the All-Star break, looks awful. But Kevin McGonigle, the only guy we really care about here, 343 average, 1,082 OPS, 23 home runs, and 4.1 WAR. He's got a lock for rookie. Actually, I can't say that. Munetaka Murakami does exist. So, lock for actual rookie of the year if you aren't counting KBO guys. But even then, he's leading the race right now over Murakami, mainly because he's hitting leadoff. But what a great season for McGonigle. Look, we've got a future here. Going into this MLB draft, we have already replenished a farm system so deep that, honestly, any guys that we draft probably won't see the light of the day before we are a contender. However, if we find a top-tier prospect, such as Reynaldo Ibar being available to us, then maybe we'll be able to see them at the major league level. There's a couple guys that I have that I think could be good. Ibar is one of them. Del Villar is the next starting pitcher. That I think could be big pieces. There's a couple other players that I think could be useful, but Fuchs, Slade, Barrero, we're going to see what's available to us at pick 22. Ibar actually lasted a lot longer than I thought. He fell all the way down to pick 11, but we are not going to be able to get him. And the other guys that I had up there, Levi Fuchs isn't available, but Gus Del Villar is. The thing is, we could technically wait for another round. Actually, we have pick 57 or 67, so not much point in waiting. There's a couple other players here that are interesting, but we're just going to take the starting pitcher, which we're going to need in our system because outside of Hernandez, and we really don't have a top tier pitcher. And we have one other guy available in our top 8. That's Oscar Barrero, who is still available by the second round. Everybody else is gone. So, yep. I just said I haven't seen a generational talent for myself. This isn't one, but it's a 99 potential starting pitcher. Gus Del Villar as our ace. Oscar Barrero with a 96 behind him. It's not the best stats, not great hits per 9, but honestly, the control is still high, so that's good. And this is not the greatest pitcher, but I think they could still develop. Fantastic to start off. 88 potential closer, 91 left fielder who was a non-ranked, by the way, and then an 89 potential reliever late in this draft. We knocked this one out of the park. And honestly, Reynaldo Ibar wasn't even generational. He was a semi-generational, 92 potential, 71 overall. Great player, but I think we ended up getting the best deal out of that one. Our second rounder from Cuba is now going to become Francisco Styles, thanks to the people in my Discord. Make sure to join that if you would like to contribute and change the name of the players in the future. And the Dominican 99 overall starting pitcher, Cade De La Sixto. And in his rookie season, Kevin McGonigle is an all-star. He's at 25 home runs, almost up to an 1,100 OPS now, hitting 344. Now, I wanted to skate over this season like we had no shot, but we're half game out with 1 month left to play with one of the worst lineups ever constructed. Not only are we 30th ranked, outside of McGonigle, and I guess Dylan Dingler, we have nothing to look forward to. And I mean that in the sense of looking into the lineup and rotation. Now, our guys have been performing okay. Jackson Jobe we brought up, and he's playing well, and I'm excited about that. That's actually a Tigers pitching prospect, who I know isn't in the top 100, but is actually playing well. Montero's not bad, Rocker's not bad, and the bullpen has been phenomenal this season. And while McGonigle is starting to die off a little bit, he's not hitting 340 anymore, he's still having a phenomenal rookie year, should end up winning Rookie of the Year. But other guys have been playing all right. I'm not expecting a lot, but Colt Keith, you know, he is one of the guys who we said has his contract already locked up, $4.5 million for the next several, or $4.8 for the next several years, and he's playing at a good value. And despite a fire sale, we end up going 84-78, making the postseason as a wild card team. We have no award winners, as Kurtz wins the MVP in the AL, and on the NL side, Mickey Moniak wins it for the Dodgers, hitting 40 home. That's crazy. Yeah, I think you'd give that to Shohei in that instance, but doesn't end up winning it. Schlittler gets the Cy Young. Ohtani wins the Cy Young in the NL. McGonigle second in batting title. He did drop all the way down to a 314 by the end of it, had a second half slump, and Murakami hit 40 home runs, so he ended up passing him. But of the actual rookies, McGonigle definitely was the rookie of the year. McGonigle ended up getting all the way up to a 91 overall after his rookie season, hitting 314 with a 983 OPS, 32 home runs for a total of 4.8 WAR. And the only other player kind of interesting in our lineup, Colt Keith, 23 home runs. He ended up racking up an 846 OPS and 5.1 WAR, so getting more than 1 WAR per $1 million. Fantastic. Otherwise, not much coming from the rest of our offense. And our pitching staff, while not phenomenal, ended up really performing well. Definitely Jackson Jobe, a fantastic season in 16 games with a 2.82 ERA. He was just kind of like a patchwork guy for me this season, and honestly, we could see him being a long-term piece if he plays at that level. Carter Montero was pretty good, Rocker wasn't, but that's fine. And Justin Verlander, in what was likely his final season of his career, and his final playoff season, 4.19 ERA, 71 strikeouts, a little negative WAR, but phenomenal last season for him. But this team was really supplemented by a great bullpen, 2 ERA from Holton, 3.38 from Efros. Melton had a good season. Finnegan had a good season. Herter had a good season. And so for the 2026 season, can we take down the division-winning Chicago White Sox and advance to the next round? We're going to have Sasaki on the mound for Game 1 against Davis Martin. It is going to be a 16-1 loss as Sasaki gets absolutely crushed. Hopefully we have a little bit more offense, as Job is going to go against his former teammate Jack Flaherty, who we sent to the White Sox in Game 2. We take the win in Montero versus Noah Schultz for a chance to advance out of the wild card in our first playoff series. We don't get it, but what a good run to even be there. And Skubal and the Dodgers defeat the New York Yankees, two teams we helped support this year in what would be one of the worst World Series ever to watch. In fact, if you look at the playoffs, we supplied Pittsburgh with players, Cincinnati with players, the Dodgers with players, the Yankees, the Rangers, the White Sox, a bunch of teams. So a lot of guys from our roster ended up being playoff players this year. Going into this offseason, our goal is going to be trying to make room for our prospects to be able to play. Max Clark should be up at the majors at this point, as he's one of the closest to be there, but we've got a couple other guys who could be there here soon. Elmer Rodriguez in the rotation. Seth Hernandez could be here by next year, though I'm not going to rush him necessarily. Walcott could be ready very soon, and some of our bullpen arms and other pieces like the Hope DePaula duo in the outfield, Walker Jenkins. We're going to take our time. I'm not going to try to fill up any spots to block anybody. The positions we were unable to acquire were first base and DH. So if we're going to go and get anybody, we're going to try to get a young first baseman to potentially add to this roster, as well as just fill up our bullpen with more arms. It's also important to note that some of the guys that we traded ended up getting paid. Skubal did get a 10-year, $447 million deal from the Los Angeles Dodgers. Our first actual acquisition of the offseason, Brusdar Graterol going to the bullpen, might actually end up being our closer, though I think Tyler Holton's probably the long-term closer. Graterol is a great setup man. And a short-term fix, Jake Bowers is going to be our first baseman. I know he's technically a left fielder, but he plays first base for the Brewers, so we're going to sign him and he's going to play first base. And we really only went for one big free agent at the top of the board, and that was Alex Vesia, who we were able to sign 4 years, $40 million to be a long-term bullpen arm. Basically, the Dodgers have no more money because of Skubal, so the Dodgers are going to start letting guys go. And we settle our backup catcher near the end of the offseason going into spring training, grabbing Patrick Bailey off of our division rival Cleveland for Matt Vierling and Jock Peterson in a salary dump. This year's lineup is going to be bad. I don't expect to be a playoff team this time around, as we are now with a new young core, with Roki Sasaki being our ace in our rotation, Jackson Joe, Montero, Rocker, and Elmer Rodriguez being the pitcher coming up right away. We did add Brian Abreu in the bullpen, we added Alex Vesia, we added Gratterall, so we do have a decent bullpen to supplement this kind of weak rotation, but the lineup is not going to supplement this rotation. We brought Max Clark up, we brought Hao-Yu Lee, and we brought Max Anderson to come up and play as our rookies this year, hoping that they can all get a little bit of a good season, maybe get in Rookie of the Year races. We also signed Dylan Dingler to a contract extension, getting him for $13 million a year for the next 5 seasons. Opening day here, we have Max Clark and Max Anderson debuting with Roki Sasaki as our opening day starter against Trevor Rogers and the Washington Nationals. I'm excited to see what this team can do and what our young guys can do, and today, we kind of proved that our team isn't that great. For the first 8 innings, we were getting no hit by Trevor Rogers and their bullpen. Thankfully, Roki didn't do too bad until he kind of blew up a little bit there in the middle. But then we did finally, in the 8th inning, have Max Clark get a nice double into a gap for his first major league hit, also breaking up the no-hitter, before Kevin McGonigle would hit a 3-run home run to make it a close game, starting off another great season for him. In the 9th, Max Anderson gets a little ground ball for his first major league hit, though it's not going to be enough as we end up losing with Max Clark striking out at the end. Each of our guys that we're really caring about getting a hit in this one, though we do lose 5-4 to start off the season. And a couple days later, Elmer Rodriguez, our other top 100 prospect coming into play, one of the only pitchers, would get his debut against Bobby Witt and the Kansas City Royals, where he would strike out Bobby Witt for his first career strikeout. Now, the rest of the outing wouldn't go very well, as he would end up giving up 6 runs in 4 2/3 on 10 hits. Big loss, we end up losing 6-2. Going into scouting this year, these players might not necessarily make it to the team, just knowing the prospects that we have. But first base is still a position that I think needs to be filled up, and we could obviously always use more starting pitching. Now, I've tanked before, but I don't think I've ever tanked this bad. This team is awful, which I guess is a good thing, outside of maybe some of the progression of our starting pitchers, because I guess Elmer's fine and Job is fine, but that's not good from Roki Sasaki, who probably should just be a reliever, but who cares? And Max Clark hit into a 381 OPS. It's wonderful. Because we're in the playoffs last year, we have pick 19, which sadly means we're not going to get a top-end generational guy in this draft. Maybe not, at least. Maybe we could get a pitcher, somebody who jumped up the board. The guy I'm looking at, Rick Dunn, is the number 1 guy on our board and the number 1 guy on our draft rank. So potentially that'll be our pick if we have the ability to get him. There was a first baseman, Eric Cardona, who was a non-ranked guy who I might be able to take. Honestly, we're not that hopeful about the depth of this draft class. So a lot of the top guys on my board are gone really early. Sal Kent, Lane Pierce, and sadly Rick Dunn goes just a couple picks before us, which sucks. He was ranked 42nd there, and we had the chance to get him. Jorge Mateo is still here. Teddy Kane is still here. This is also the opportunity, I think, then where you take the risk, right? We could just go and grab somebody who might be something, and especially when I don't have anybody who's significantly like a standout-ish guy. Now, there's a couple there like Bill Braley who's interesting. I think the one that I would do here is probably Todd Sable's not going to end up being good, though. That's going to be a bad player. We have prospects. Let's take the swing. Actually, yeah, take the swing. And now that we've taken the swing, we will go with the safe pick, Jorge Mateo. Nope, I disappeared him. All right, add to draft queue and draft him. The Todd Sable gamble didn't pay off, only 78 potential. That was a miss, but Jorge Mateo was a hit on 87. Wish he was a little bit better. David Reese, 92 potential, was all right, but Cardona wasn't that good. Robbie Hayes was a complete miss. Our late picks were fine, but yeah, not a good draft from us. The guy we really wanted, Rick Dunn, was a 95 potential with good control. Yeah, 2 picks before us. At the All-Star break, we have 31 wins. I don't think we're going to end up breaking the record for the worst team ever, and honestly, somehow the Rangers are down here with us. So we might not even be the worst team this season. We should be, though. We're terrible. But we do get 2 All-Stars. Somehow, Dylan Dingler is an All-Star despite hitting 195. I don't understand how he got the spot. And then we ended up having an actual good player, Kevin McGonigle. 21 home runs, 284 average right now. A little bit worse than he was last year, but still, all-star caliber player. I don't really see why I wouldn't take this deal. The Mets are giving us a bunch of younger guys with more team control that are cheaper. We're going to lose Parker Meadows, Wensiel Perez, Zach McGinstry, and Jahmai Jones, which, yes, they are better players, but we get Nick Morabito, Ryan Clifford, who is actually a first baseman and will play right now, and then 2 other guys that I don't care about. Top prospects in their system. Yeah, let's do it. And after that trade, we are going to call up the minor leaguer who's performing the best so far this season, Zaire Hope, hitting 296 in AAA. We're going to call him up to play in his first game against the San Diego Padres, who also just made a big trade trading away Mason Miller. In his first game, Zaire Hope does get a little single grounder down through a gap to get his first major league hit in a game that we would end up dominating, getting a bunch of hits, including a home run from McGonigle, 2 from Dingler, and 1 from Max Clark to win that one. And it's important to note that a lot of our top prospects are struggling. Cam Collier is hitting 302 with an 899 OPS, but he's the only one with an 800 OPS or higher. Walker Jenkins is hitting the second best, 274 with a 737 OPS. Could come up in September, but right now Sebastian Walcott's really struggling, as is Caleb Bonnemer and Jose De Paula. The good news is Seth Hernandez is playing all right, so I think we just need to give our guys some time, which I think makes sense when you consider we have 12 guys in the top 100, including number 1, number 2, number 5, number 9 inside the top 10. And at the deadline, we also acquire Lazaro Montes, who could be a first baseman, honestly. Another option there, as we do give up on Jake Bauers early, but he was hitting really well this season. And Kyle Finnegan was an expiring deal. Saad Efros was just an expensive contract. Was playing really, really well in AAA, but another big prospect to add to the pool. As the minor league season gets to an end, I think we have seen that Walker Jenkins and Sebastian Walcott put up enough WAR that I think we could justify them coming up next year, even if offensively they weren't the greatest. But Walcott put it together really good in the second half, and Jenkins in the second half just kind of, I guess, consistent throughout the year. And for pitchers, Carlos LaGrange should come up next year. That's our AAA guys. In AA, we did see Ricky Vanasco, an insane season, but Seth Hernandez, I think, could be AAA, maybe even major leagues next year. I think we'll just have him in AAA and bring him up partially through the year if we have to. Position players in AA, I'm really just looking at WAR because I think that's probably the most accurate depiction of how good they are consistently. Cam Collier was amazing. Honestly, AAA next year, see if he's ready. We avoid losing 100 games as we go 63-99, one of the worst teams in the league. But not the worst, as the Rangers lose 101 games. We get 2 awards, including a Hank Aaron from Kevin McGonigle and Rookie of the Year for Elmer Rodriguez. McGonigle with a fantastic season, 311, 990 OPS, 35 home runs for 5.6 WAR. Yes, this is amazing. In the Rookie of the Year race, Elmer Rodriguez won with Max Clark in third. That's not too bad. We got 2 guys up there. The 2 guys that we were focused on bringing up are 2 top 100s. Zaire Hope and Clifford came a little bit later, so they didn't get a chance to compete with Seamus Patterson, but great seasons from those 2. In the AL, the MVP goes to Yordan Alvarez. Great season from him, beating out Kurtson Cortez. As the Cy Young with a fantastic year goes to Jose Soriano. Less than a 2 ERA, fantastic season for the Angels pitcher. AL Cy Young, NL Cy Young goes to Skeens, beating out Shohei and Skubal, who also wins the MVP. Carlos Cortez is really good in this roster. 207 hits, he was an all-star this year, he was an all-star last year. Fantastic season. This pitching rotation was quite terrible, as Roki Sasaki with a 2 whip, 7.34 ERA. Rocker was terrible. Montero and Job were mediocre, and Rodriguez was pretty good. The bullpen kind of carried us. It doesn't look like it, probably because we were just so bad, but our bullpen was a lot better. We still won. We only won 63 games. And McGonigle, Ryan Clifford, fantastic year. He might be able to stay at first base. He only played 47 games, but man, I think if he got the opportunity to play more of the season, like if we traded for him earlier, this dude easily could have won Rookie of the Year this season. Workman was good. So we had our rookies played well. McGonigle played well. Max Anderson played meh. Clark was all right. But overall, I think it's a decent season. I was concerned about potentially being stuck with like a 40-50 win team. We won 63 games. And the Braves defeat the Yankees in the 2027 World Series, which I have to address at this point. This Yankees team has been buying and buying and buying. Ben Rice was amazing this year. They have added Luis Arias. They have added Mickey Moniak. Obviously, we did the trade with them before. They went out and got Mason Miller and Jeremiah Estrada. This team has been adding and adding, and they should continue to be really good. Going into free agency this year, we don't need to make a lot of acquisitions. However, I think our pitching staff has been so bad that it might make sense to do a bridge starting pitcher option. Now, the two choices in this is to go with either a younger starting pitcher, like a Mackenzie Gore, or to go with somebody a little bit older for a shorter time. I think we're going to aim for the younger plan, and we will just trade that guy if, he gets in the way of our young prospects. But I think we just need something. Opening day starter so that Roki and Kumar Rocker don't have to start. We stick at pick number 2, mostly chalk in this one. It's fine for me. And we get him to sign Mackenzie Gore, coming 6 years, $30 million per year to Detroit. He's going to be our ace for the next couple of years. If he ends up underperforming, we can trade him away, but I need somebody to bridge that gap until DeSixto is ready, LaGrange, maybe Elmer as our ace, maybe it's Hernandez. I don't know who it's going to be, but right now we have an ace until then. So for this year, Mackenzie Gore is going to be our ace, the top of our rotation, with Elmer, Job, Rocker, and Montero in the rotation. Actually, you know what? No. Rocker, you were awful. We're going to put LaGrange into the rotation. We'll give him his debut. And lineup-wise, we're going to bring up Walker Jenkins. He's going to be the only one I'm going to bring up right now. I just want to see just a good start, hot start from Sebastian Walcott, and then we'll give him a shot. He should be ready to come up anyways. Opening day, Mackenzie Gore does not come out with the win, but on day 2, Walker Jenkins gets to debut, another one of our top prospects, and in his first at-bat, he gets a nice little hit for his first major league hit. Now, it was the only one he got in the day, as Elmer Rodriguez didn't really put up a great performance in this one. We gave up a bunch of runs to the Rays, and we did end up losing, despite getting a home run from Keith and McGonigle. Another pitching debut of one of our top prospects. Carlos LaGrange, a couple days later, would then start his first game, in which he'd get his first career strikeout on Bazana, and then give up 4 runs in 4 innings. Not really a good shot. He was not going to lose the game, but then we ended up blowing the save. Tyler Holton gave up 3 runs in the 9th, so we ended up losing. But this team is still going to be bad this year. I don't expect to be contending, but we do have the number 2 overall pick this year, which I'm excited about the potential of maybe getting our first generational talent. And we lose Max Anderson for 2 months early on in the season, which means despite me wanting to wait it out, Sebastian Walcott is going to come up to the major leagues. And so Walcott in his debut would get 4 opportunities at the plate and wouldn't start out very hot, but in the 8th inning would finally get a line drive single for his first career hit. So far, all of our guys getting their first career hit in their first career game. It's a great start. And today, this one actually ended in a win, which was better than everything else that we normally have. A couple weeks into the season, we have a really potent offense, but a terrible pitching staff. That was expected, honestly. So we're right on board with the Guardians at the top of the division offensively, but our pitching staff is bad. We still could technically be a 500 team, maybe even wild card playoff race at the end of it. Now that's mostly because of this man, Kevin McGonigle, who's got a 353 average, almost a 1200 OPS, 14 home runs right now, and 2.7 WAR. Once again, we're only 41 games into the season. This is an unbelievable start. He is currently second in the MVP race, leading Hank Aaron and leading the batting title. The other fun thing to look at is Walker Jenkins and Sebastian Walcott, both of our rookies that we have up this year, are in the Rookie of the Year race. Now, I don't think they're both going to be long because Walcott is playing really, really poorly. I'd rather have him just develop a little bit longer than try to waste his potential up in the major leagues. He's not doing very well right now. He's good defensively, so it's okay. But I think we're going to go send him down and just, play somebody else. Amongst this team of top tier prospects, there's one sneaky player who has been absolutely dominant so far this season and even last year that I haven't really mentioned. Gage Workman right now has a 970 OPS with 17 home runs and a 308 average for 2.2 WAR. Last season, I didn't even mention it, he hit 33 home runs. But he's hitting well enough that he's actually now leading the MVP race a couple more weeks into the season. And somehow only 3 weeks later, we have taken the lead in our division thanks to our offense just continuing to improve and pop off right now, and our pitching staff getting just good enough, as well as kind of Cleveland's falling apart. We have the number 2 overall pick. It's our chance to potentially get a generational talent. I don't know if there is one. We're down to 2 guys. I don't know which guy's going to be available to us. It's Ward Bulk, the catcher, which I don't need because we have Dylan Dingler, but he does look like he has the highest ceiling of the 2, and all around looks like a good catcher. The other is Eric Morales, who has a fantastic bat, but a less of a high ceiling. He is slightly older. I don't know which guy's going to be available to us. We'll see what Texas does, but we're getting one of the 2 of them. As a GM, I actually want kind of the pressure off me. Take one of them so I don't have to think. They take Ward Bulk, so I don't have to think. We're taking Eric Morales. Now, with pick 31 is where we get into the thick of it because I have to make a decision on any of the guys that we have left on our board. Dodson is the 3rd best on my board, but we didn't fully scout him, so I'm not sure if he's technically going to be the best. And I could wait. I probably shouldn't, but if he isn't, it would be a bad pick. But honestly, if he is, hits per 9 versus righty being good, control being good, stamina being good, this should be a good pitcher. I think we're just going to go safe here. We're going to take him. I obviously could go with a closer. There's some closers that are interesting, like Chris Rosales, but I think we're just going to take the next highest guy on our board, and we'll see what we end up getting for the rest of it. Honestly, this class didn't look that deep. Eric Morales wasn't that good, 87 potential, but he is already a pretty good bat with good power and good speed. But I think the swings here is that we had some other guys on our board. Dodson and Coburn were on my big board, as well as Harris, and Coburn was a 95 potential at 63 overall, meaning he's already pretty good. Dodson, 89 with 61 overall. Harris, 90 with 57 overall. And then the bottom guys on our board weren't bad either. Nick Worth, 66 overall. Look at the hits per 9. This draft ends up being phenomenal despite Morales not being what we need him to be, but still it's not like his stats are bad. And Ward Bulk was in 68 overall with 91 potential, so he was better, but honestly, catcher only, no secondary. We already have 2 good catchers, plus Brasinho, who's not even going to be able to play on this team. I think we're fine. There was an absolute stud first baseman in this, though, with Drew McConnell, 61 overall, 94 potential, with look at those contact stats. Oh my God, Freddie Freeman. At the All-Star break, we have fallen behind the Guardians, but we are above 500, which is a fantastic turnaround from last year being one of the worst teams in baseball. We are currently a wild card team, and it's going to be a tight one for us to hold on to that position, but I think we'll be able to do it. So the question for us is going to be, can we consistently see improvement from our guys as well as our pitching staff, which once again regressing back down. We have 2 All-Stars, Kevin McGonigle with 28 home runs and a 339 average at this point in the season at the All-Star break. Phenomenal year, potential chance for an MVP. If his teammate at third base, Gage Workman, doesn't beat him out because of the RBIs, 22 homers, 74 RBIs, 283 average. Great season for the both of them right now. 1 month left to play. We are a half game up on the Guardians right now at 78 and 62, but that does give us a good gap into the wild card over essentially the Blue Jays huge gap. I think we're going to be a playoff team, which is awesome considering where we started. And we're not going to talk much about the minor leaguers this year. None of our prospects were really that impressive. I think Briseño is going to be the guy who's going to come up just because he's hitting 787 for an OPS. Because war-wise, he's the only one that is actually doing anything of intrigue. Collier's doing all right, but nobody else should come up. And pitching, Seth Hernandez is actually pitching very, very well down in the minors, but I'm not gonna, waste a year of service time on him because I don't think we necessarily need him yet. Just let him develop one more year. 90 and 72. Honestly, I was shooting for 80. If I thought 80 wins would have been great. We got 90. We're going to be taking on the Guardians in our division series. We only get one award. That's going to be Walker Jenkins winning Rookie of the Year. I kind of saw this coming as he was having a great second half. I checked in a little bit earlier. But McGonigle was not going to end up winning MVP this year. Because that happened. Huh? Hey, we've done a rebuild with Nick Kurtz before, where I kind of built the whole team to support him. Somehow, this team did better than that. 79 home runs, 161 RBIs, and a 343 average. Beats out McGonigle's 326, 46, and 108. Man, McGonigle had a great season. That's another almost 1,100 OPS, 8.5 WAR. But he's not going to get an MVP because what is that? We did end up second in the Rookie of the Year as well with LaGrange, who did not have a great season, but it's all right. To go back to it, Savage wins the Cy Young with a 238, 207. Amazing season from him. On the NL side, Vientos is the MVP, beating out Jordan Walker and Juan Soto. That's the RBIs doing the work there. And Logan Webb, the Cy Young with the Giants. Ridiculous. McGonigle does lead the league in doubles. Give him that. But this stat line, man. 228 hits, 79 home runs, 161 RBIs, 343, 411, 765, 1100 OPS, 10.2 at first base, 10.2 WAR. Anyways, taking a quick look at our rotation, we were all right. The pitching staff wasn't great this year, and it didn't need to be necessarily great. Tyler Holton was good. He ended up finishing third in the reliever of the year race, and our starting staff was bad. Mackenzie Gore, only a 4.38. That's rough. If I wanted you to be my stand-in, no thanks there. 5.28 from Rodriguez, 4.15 from Job, 4.82 from LaGrange, and 5.07 from Roki, as he took that spot from Kiter because he was awful. Kumar Rocker was one of our best pitchers. Yeah, our pitching staff is still terrible. We got to give a lot of credit to some of our guys here because Dylan Dingler had a fantastic year. 28 home runs, 92 RBIs, the 267 average, and a 5.4 WAR. Fantastic season from him. Also a 999 fielding percentage. Great season from Dingler. Workman ended up being really, really good this year with a 4.8 WAR, 287 average, 38 home runs, 117 RBIs. He is holding on to his spot. And Max Clark, who was the runner-up last year for Rookie of the Year, despite hitting 240, 27 home runs, 26 doubles, 10 triples, up to an 844 OPS. One of the top guys in our system is now going to be a top guy on the roster. In fact, a lot of our guys ended up being really good this year. Walker Jenkins, 253 with 19 home runs, 59 RBIs. Zaire Hope was really good, 278 with 20 home runs. Morabito, 3.4 WAR, 287, 12 home runs. Colt Keith, 28 homers. Yeah, I think the lineup is fantastic. The pitching staff just needs work, which we've got our guy. We've got 3 of the top 4 prospects in baseball, and they're all starting pitchers. In fact, we were first in runs this year. Fantastic offense, number 1 in hits. We were number 1 in triples. We were second in home runs. We were a really potent offense. But will any of that matter if we can't get past Cleveland to get to play the New York Yankees in this playoff run? Now, like I said, our pitching staff is pretty bad. Their pitching staff is pretty good. So Gore, oh my God, they've got Framber. Okay, all right. Gore versus Gavin in game 1 is a 13-8 victory. Just so much offense. Hey, that's what we need. 2 homers from rookie Walker Jenkins, triple from Hope, couple doubles, including 3 from Dingler. Game 2, Rodriguez versus former Tiger Framber Valdez. We're going to win 7-0. They couldn't stop this offense. And so now it's the Yankees that we have up next. They have a stacked roster and a great pitching staff. Joe versus Schlittler in game 1. Can our offense continue to be as potent as it was against the Guardians? Looks like it wasn't, as Melton loses this one, but still a close game there. Second game in New York is going to be former New York Yankee prospect Carlos LaGrange versus Max Fried, and we are going to lose the bullpen again, blowing it. 2 games lost in New York. Sasaki versus Drew Rasmussen in Detroit. We aren't going to be able to take down the Yankees this year, but hey, if we can get that pitching staff solved, maybe we can with how good this offense is. Kurtz puts a cap on probably the greatest season of all time by winning a World Series over Paul Skeens and the Pittsburgh Pirates, with World Series MVP on top of the trophy case, including almost getting ALCS MVP on top of it. So he hit 79 home runs in the regular season, 6 in the ALCS, and 3 in the World Series. What a ridiculous man this is. Going into this season, we're only adding Seth Hernandez to the rotation this year. I think he's ready. He played really well in AA and AAA. And I do got to start getting some return, because the Pirates were just in the World Series and Riley Greene has been phenomenal for them. MVP type candidate, especially last year. 6.7 WAR. It's going to be hard to match that. Hernandez needs to be an ace. And so in Hernandez's debut, we're trying to break the curse of having a guy just kind of underperform in his debut and struggle. And Hernandez got a ton of strikeouts in his first appearance. Only pitched 5 innings, but I got 11 strikeouts in those 5 innings. Did give up 10 hits and eventually 3 runs, but still, strikeout pitching? I wasn't really expecting that from him. We do end up getting the win as he racks up his first W of his career. But I don't know what's up with us, because anytime I bring up a pitcher, they just get rocked no matter what. All these top prospects that we brought in, LaGrange, Rodriguez, Hernandez, Rocker, Sasaki, they can't pitch, which scares me, because then when I go and I look at the guys that we brought in, like De La Sixto, he doesn't have stats that makes you think he can pitch. Neither does Styles. I don't know if we've been drafting that well, actually. Okay, Dodson looks amazing. And after making a playoff run last year, we're starting off 5-16. The lineup has lost all of its bat power. Nobody hitting well outside of, I guess, Nick Morabito. And the pitching staff, I guess Gore is all right, but everybody else is awful, including the bullpen. They're all bad. Can I rebuild this rebuild or something? I don't know how we were even a playoff team last year, honestly. Like, what's going on? How are we 3-20 at home? Are mommy and daddy fighting? We just need to spark something. Workman is playing terrible, so I'm taking him out of the lineup for now. We're going to bring up Cam Collier. Clifford's bad, and Cam Collier in his first game ends up getting a double in his first at-bat. So 2 hits on the day, we end up getting the victory. He's going to be our first baseman for a lot of this season. It's probably going to be the last year that I show the draft, I'm thinking because we should be a contender at this point, but we're clearly not. Domingo Cisneros is the top guy on my board. Easy pick if he's end up being there. Fantastic starting pitcher. Otherwise, Eli Gonzalez is another great pitcher who could be on the board. Honestly, he's probably terrible, but whatever. And then there's Andres Franco. I don't need more closers, but he looks good. I don't know. We've got a lot of picks. We've got 2 compensatory first-round picks. And this was a weak class. For instance, the 3rd overall pick, Jose Castro, basically had the build that I think 6 other guys in this class had. So that was what I was working with. So we have pick 23, 32, and 35, and we don't get Domingo Cisneros. And so I have to decide here whether or not I think Dave Kennedy, who's got fantastic, like, if that control is good, the stamina is good, and the hits per 9 versus right is that good, this is a guaranteed pick. Though, the risky move is Rick Fernandez and Bartolo Peralta, 2 guys I did not scout. They have very, very good looking builds. I just don't necessarily know if either of them are going to be there. I can miss out on them. I think at this point, we just have to be safe. If one of them are available at 32, we'll take them. I just need to make sure I get somebody good. At 32, they're both still here, so I think the more interesting one is probably Rick Fernandez. We'll go for it. And then we'll take probably Gonzalez for safety purposes. Dave Kennedy is a safe pick. Good hits per nine, good control, good stamina, good Ks per nine against righty. Fantastic, I think, overall against right-handed hitters, which I'm excited about. But not necessarily the highest ceiling. Fernandez was a miss. Like I said, we were just kind of taking a swing there on him. But we still got Eli Gonzalez, who was very well-rounded. Gilliam was all right. Andres Franco was all right. And we got a late-round outfielder as well, who ended up being fine. So we're 37-59. We are 24.5 games out of the AL Central, as the White Sox are really good. And we are tied with the Angels for the worst team in base. At least the Marlins are worse than us, and the Rockies, and honestly the Padres. So we're not the worst, but we're bad. I don't know. I don't understand why we're this bad, but our pitching is terrible. I guess there's my answer. Our singular all-star this year is Dylan Dingler. 241, 17 home runs, and 53 RBIs. Yeah, we're not that good. And look at Kurtz going for another 80 home runs, I guess. I hate to be sellers in essentially year 4, but we have an expiring deal in Brusdar Graterol, and the Pirates called, and they have a phenomenal set of relief prospects, and our bullpen needs work. I'm willing to give up Luis May in this. I don't really want to, but if this is what's going to give me a bunch of good relievers with some team control, I'm fine by it. We actually put together a really good August. I think adding the bullpen arms really kind of resolved some of the problem that we had. Maybe our bullpen was just really, really bad. And adjusting our lineup, I think, has helped a little bit. We technically still do have a shot of making the playoffs. It's a long shot. We're 10.5 games behind the Guardians. I'm not worried about that. I think I'm just happy that we ended up fixing some of the problems. We missed the playoffs, but talk about a turnaround. 82-80. Somehow we made that team above 500. If we can take this momentum of what this season ended up being in the latter half into next year, we should be back in the top in the playoffs and all of that, because this is a pretty good team once we figured it all out. But that start at the beginning was horrible. Kurtz wins another MVP in the AL, the Cy Young going to Brian Wu of the Mariners. Skubal gets a Cy Young with the Dodgers, so we still are kind of reeling from that move. I think the question for you to judge is whether or not them having him is a good exchange. Like, technically, we only traded him for this year. He signed the extension afterwards, and he got a Cy Young out of it. So, was that something that we lost in the deal, knowing we weren't going to be able to re-sign him anyways? I don't know if it was. So, he ends up getting the Cy Young, and MVP goes to Juan Soto. We don't get Rookie of the Year. That goes to Dylan Lewis of the Twins, but Seth Hernandez and Cam Collier did finish second and third. I wonder if Collier came up a little bit earlier, if he would have had a chance. And Seth struggled a lot in the first half of the season, but I'm excited about what he can do after he really put it back together in the second half. One of our best players this season was Max Clark, who ended up getting 6.3 WAR with an 870 OPS, 301 average, and 21 home runs. He has definitely made his way to be one of the most pivotal players of this team. Walker Jenkins had a good year. Keith had a good year. Dingler had a good year. McGonigle really had a down year this year. 873 OPS, 273, and 24 home runs. It's crazy to say 873 OPS is not good enough, but when you had a career 1,000 OPS, yeah, that's a big downturn for us. And while LaGrange struggled, I actually think that our rotation is starting to find its shape now with the second half of the season. Elmer Rodriguez, Mackenzie Gore, Kumar Rocker might be a guy here, and then Seth Hernandez, and we don't know the guys that are on their way yet. We have some pieces here, and I think our bullpen with Holton, Alvarez, I actually like some of the other guys we have down here. Jose Barrero, Mason Montgomery, who we just got in that deal. Interesting pieces, Hunter Barco. And Cade De La Sixto had a 1 ERA in AA and a 1.5 in AAA. I'm going to give him a couple more innings next season at the beginning of AAA, because I don't know if I trust him yet, but God, he was good. I was also really impressed with Sebastian Walcott this year, who I brought up and was not necessarily in the Rookie of the Year race, but had a 758 OPS, 12 home runs, and racked up 2.6 WAR. And funnily enough, in the Skubal trade, Zaire Hope was kind of the throw-in piece of the two. DePaula was supposed to be the big piece, but Hope hit 29 home runs this year, 845 OPS with 2.3 WAR. He has been a standout on this roster. This year was filled with central dominance as Riley Greene goes and gets his World Series teammates with Mike Trout now in Pittsburgh as the Pirates defeat the Guardians in the 2029 World Series. Just a note of this, there were 3 AL Central teams and 3 NL Central teams in the playoffs. We're in the game of now just trying to get extra 40-man spots. So Patrick Bailey's going to go out, no longer going to be our backup catcher. It's going to let either Tyron Alonso or Briseño come up and do that. But the big deal we get is we're going to grab Louis Varland. That's going to be our closer. We need a bullpen arm. Now we have 2 of the best in the league with Alex Vesia and Louis Varland. Going into 2030, coming off of our kind of hot finish to last season, we are adding Louis Varland to the bullpen. And it's a very lefty-dominant bullpen. In fact, I'm hoping that we can end up getting good performances here because this bullpen is a little bit loaded on one side. And lineup-wise, we're running into walls with options here, as now I need our guys to really start to perform. Montez has to be here. DePaula has to be here. Those 2 guys are going to play this season, DH, kind of alternating. Montez versus righties. Actually, I think I have Montez all time and DePaula versus lefties. We sent Clifford back down just because I needed to use options to get these guys in. There we go. Okay, so the momentum from last year might translate to this year, which is great to see. It makes me wonder what we did wrong last year to have that terrible start, because we don't look bad. We're not a bad baseball team. And you know what? Maybe McGonigle was hurt last year. Maybe he's playing with an injury or something, because we're not even a month into the season, he's got 2.4 WAR. Unbelievable. He's matched his WAR from last season in 25 games. Cade got rocked in his first month of AAA ball this year, so he's not going to come up for a while. It kind of means that a lot of these prospects that we have in our system probably won't see much playing time anymore. I really wanted to. Maybe we will see some guys like Kennedy or Morales come up at some point. I mean, they look like good players, but yeah, I think we've got our team. I think this is the team now. Hey, Ted Williams, do you want to like step aside? Because I think a new GOAT has just showed up. Because are 400? Yeah, Ben Rice is having a great season. He might hit 400. What do you call this? Mind you, we're 2 months into the season. 2 months, and he's at 476. So I've barely showed the standings this season, but it's actually an extremely close race. We are only 3 games up on the Guardians and 4.5 on the White Sox. Our division is really good. I mean, I think that just means that we're all going to make the playoffs because honestly, this division is phenomenal. We're looking at right now 4 teams from the AL Central in the playoffs. And we're going to have more All-Stars than just McGonigle, as Elmer Rodriguez is putting together a great season with a 2.57 ERA right now. 1-2 whip, so he's getting a little lucky, but that's fine. We also have Louis Varland as an All-Star right now. But I know what you want to see. The only other All-Star we have, Kevin McGonigle, who is still hitting 468 at the All-Star break. I don't know how. Have you ever seen a 1400 OPS? Because I haven't. I've never seen something like this. We just watched Nick Kurtz get 79 home runs like 2 years ago and beat out McGonigle for an MVP. And McGonigle responded by saying, yeah, I have 9.6 WAR at the All-Star break. And because I think we've got the team to do it, we have a position of need to fill. Vladimir Guerrero is going to be our first baseman. It is a huge purchase to make. He's got 10 years left on his deal, but Cam Collier is underperforming. We've got a bunch of depth at a bunch of other positions, and we've got a lot of really good starter pitchers kind of to work with. Eli Gonzalez is one of the top prospects that we have. He is currently ranked 6th in the top 100, but his stats aren't good and he's not going to progress the way we need it. We need a surefire bat to support McGonigle because he's not getting enough. Vladdy's going to be that. And so our lineup's going to have Max Clark, Kevin McGonigle, and Vladdy at the top. I think that's a phenomenal 1-2-3 to start off our lineup, and honestly, our MVP right here. The funny thing is he only has 79 RBIs, and that's what they care about, so he might not even get it. And in their first start together, Vladdy is going to get a home run and a double. McGonigle with 2 hits as well. Great start for the new dynamic duo, not even including Max Clark. doing great. With 1 month left to play, we find ourselves taking the lead, a little bit of a handed lead now, over the Guardians, 4 games up on them with a bigger gap to the Royals and White Sox, as we have 1 month left to play to hold on to this lead and possibly go for 100 wins. And McGonigle is still holding on to a 400 plus average. Now, Kurtz is chasing him for MVP because he has only 3 less RBIs. 102 wins, 60 losses. We are a playoff team winning our division, taking on the winner of the wild card playoff game. We only have 2 awards. Hank Aaron and batting title. So he got robbed? I mean, amazing season from Kurtz, but are you kidding me? 428 and it's not an MVP? I mean, all right. I'm living in a world where Nick Kurtz is God. I'll pivot quick here because I don't want to look at Kurtz for a second, because this is still insane. So we ended up having 50 doubles, 428 average, 228 hits for McGonigle, with an 805 slugging and a 1316 OPS. He also likely led in WAR. Yep, 12.6 WAR for McGonigle. It's an amazing season. He played less games, I know that. We have a lot of shortstops on the roster, so we only played 138 games, which is probably why he was able to hold on to this average. And also essentially fix last year's mistakes. But yeah, Kurtz crushed us again. So McGonigle has gotten snubbed from 2 MVP. I can't say snubbed because the other one, Kurtz, deserved it, definitely. Snubbed from 1 at least. Kurtz just beating him out, man. We did finish second in the Cy Young with Mackenzie Gore. Skubal didn't win the Cy Young as Skeens beat him, and Soto won the MVP, beating out Riley Greene. Insane. Insanity. I was like really excited to talk about this season. I was like, oh my god, this season's gonna be amazing. And then I lost the MVP. I mean, still unbelievable across the board. A ridiculously good season. We won 100 games. We put it back together. We had the bad season last year. We fixed it with the latter half of last season. Got a great season this year. Had one of the greatest seasons of all time from Kevin McGonigle. I mean, maybe if he hit 3rd in the lineup instead of 2nd, maybe then we don't have to worry about that. Look, the other guys played well. At least those top 6. Yeah. And our pitching rotation was pretty good too. 358, 365. Elmer did die off a little bit. 382 from Seth. 395 from Job. 367 from Rocker. Our rotation is rocking. Roki Sasaki down there. Herter, good. Melton was good. LaGrange wasn't there. Holton was great. Vesia was great. Varland wasn't that good, but whatever. I mean, we could win this year. I know I'm just going to run into the A's and lose. Thankfully, we don't have to see them until the ALCS if we did, so I guess I can hold off on that fact. So we get our division rival Cleveland in the first round of the playoffs for us, the ALDS, against our division rival. Mackenzie Gore on the mound versus Jose Soriano in Game 1. Before it's going to be Elmer versus George Kirby and Seth Hernandez versus Parker Messick. So Game 1 in Detroit, Gore versus Soriano. Gore breaks his hand. We lose Game 1. Elmer Rodriguez versus George Kirby in Game 2. We do take the win now that we actually have a pitcher. Seth Hernandez versus Messick in Game 3 in Cleveland. Dominant victory. Can Job get the win against Soriano in Game 4? He can. Outside of the injury, we do survive and win all those games. Let's see who we need to bring in, I guess, to be our pitcher in his spot. So it's going to be Kumar Rocker against the New York Yankees in Cam Schlittler in Game 1. We're going to need some luck here, and we're just going to kind of go through it, hoping that we have it. Because I don't know about the pitching staff. They all improved better, and we see it as Rocker gets the win, and Carlos LaGrange is going to step up into Gore's spot in the bullpen, taking that as we get the win in Game 1. Roki Sasaki versus Max Fried in Game 2. Still in Detroit, we do take the loss there. So going to New York, it's going to be Elmer versus Drew Rasmussen in Game 3. We get the 4-0 victory as Elmer pitches a great game. Hernandez versus Will Warren in Game 4 in New York is going to be a 12-8 victory. We have the chance to advance to the World Series. Joe versus Schlittler. We're taking on the Brewers. McGonigle has kept it up, by the way, as in the postseason, he's hitting .441 with 2 home runs so far. So we're still getting a phenomenal performance from the real MVP here before we go to take on Milwaukee. But it is scary to do this without our ace, knowing that they still have Miz and Henderson and Harrison. And oh my God, they're so good. Milwaukee versus Detroit, the Prince Fielder World Series here in 2030. It's time. We are finally here. Our young core has been realized, and it is time for us to prove if we have done the job correctly. It's going to be a pitcher's duel. However, we are going to be suffering as we have no Mackenzie Gore. Thus, Elmer Rodriguez is going to start Game 1 against Jacob Misiorowski. Now, this series, all in all, should be much of a pitcher's duel as we have a good offense, but honestly, it's us and the Brewers. They have a fantastic pitching staff. Early on, Misiorowski started that off hot with an early strikeout against Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and Elmer Rodriguez responded, getting a strikeout of his own on Trent Grisham. In fact, most of this game was going to be led by strikeouts early on by Misiorowski and Elmer Rodriguez, as it took all the way into the 3rd inning before we saw any offense, as Lazaro Montes would break it all up with a double down the line, and the greatest hitter of all time, Kevin McGonigle, would follow him up, hitting a ball perfectly into the gap for an RBI double, getting it 1-0 Detroit Tigers. But the offense would not last much longer, as it would stop there, as Misiorowski is still so hard to hit, as Vladimir Guerrero strikes out swinging, confused at what he just saw, as Misiorowski would end up still pitching a gem in this one. Now, in the top of the 4th, the Brewers would start to get their offense going, but not necessarily in a dangerous way, more in the sense of they started running up Elmer Rodriguez's pitch count. Little weak singles, a lot of fouls, some walks, but a dropped ball would be caught and Dylan Dingler would catch Michael Busch napping as we would get out of the jam for Elmer Rodriguez. Sadly, though, because of the pitch count going up for both of them, both managers made awkward decisions to go to the bullpen early on in the 5th, getting Troy Melton having a good 5th inning, and Abner Uribe coming in and getting a good 5th inning of his own. Both pitchers still showing that the bullpens were going to be dangerous in this series as well. This was going to be a long series to bat. But in the 6th inning, we started to show our cracks as the Tigers don't have as good of a bullpen as the Milwaukee Brewers. Hunter Barco comes in the 6th, walking 2 batters to start it off, and Brant Herter letting up a weak single with Jeremy Pena on does make it 1-1 in the top of the 6th. Now, it's not great it was put in the position because of the walks, but what was worse is that right after, Brendan Donovan would come up and hit a ball just over Max Clark's head to make it 3-1 Milwaukee Brewers. In the bottom of the 6th, Sebastian Walcott would come up and knock a double down the line just out of the reach of Kyle Tucker as he couldn't pick up the ball and field it cleanly, getting all the way to second as we end up getting a runner on right after the run. And with a passed ball by Robert Gasser hitting the backstop, Sebastian Walcott would advance all the way over to 3rd base to put a runner easily in scoring position for Colt Keith, would get a ball just deep enough over the head of Jackson Chourio to get a sac fly and inch the Tigers 1 run closer. But some of the differences would start to show between these two teams, as our pitching wasn't as good, but the youth and defense the Detroit Tigers would show. Walcott turning a fantastic double play to end a potential run in the top of the 7th, and Max Clark hitting a grounder over to Brendan Donovan at 3rd, who could not field the ball cleanly, and would get Max Clark onto 1st base. Max Clark! Max Clark! Max! Maximum effort, Clark! Walker Jenkins with Max Clark on 2nd. Walker Jenkins grounds it down the middle. No one's gonna get to it. Walker Jenkins. It's 3-3. Michael Bush. God damn it, Michael Bush. Michael Bush. Oh, you're an idiot, Michael Bush. You're so stupid. I think he's been thrown out twice. You're so dumb. Zaire can't believe it. Zaire can't believe it. And yes, you're going to get live commentary from me as well, as in the ninth, we would bring in our closer, Louis Varland, to slam the door on the Milwaukee Brewers, who would get a strikeout on Jackson Chourio, looking to advance us to the bottom of the ninth, facing no damage from the Brewers lineup, as we would go to the middle of hours for McGonigle, Vladdy, and Walker Jenkins. And to start the bottom of the ninth, Adrian Morahone would pitch around Kevin McGonigle, afraid of the 460 hitter, to put him on base just in time for Vladdy. Vladimir. Guerrero. Oh, let's go! Let's go! Vladimir Guerrero! Runners in the corners! Let's go, baby! Walker Jenkins would then strike out, bringing up Zaire Hope against DL Hall. I don't know, it's Grisham. Is that deep enough? Is that deep enough? That's deep enough. That's deep enough! Let's go, Zaire! Let's go, Zaire! Let's go! And Zaire Hope would come in clutch to hit the walk-off sac fly, giving us a 1-game lead on the Milwaukee Brewers as he gets the ball to Trent Grisham. And you know who can field an outfield fly? Not in Milwaukee. It wouldn't be a Milwaukee playoff series if Trent Grisham didn't mess up defensively. Let's go. And so we would come out on top with the walk-off for Zaire Hope. 1-0 Detroit. And game 2 would follow that up with another added wrinkle to our game, as it would be a rainy day in Michigan, with Roki Sasaki on the mound for us, one of the few players that we have on the roster with actual World Series experience, going against Quinn Priester and the Milwaukee Brewers. And one of the weaknesses of Sasaki's game, his lack of control, would start to shine through in this one early, as the rain and the slick balls did end up adding an extra wrinkle to us. First off, Contreras would get a double to lead it off before Kyle Tucker would get a grounder down the middle to advance runners on the corners early on with 1 out in the top of the first. Michael Bush would then come up to follow it and let another weak grounder down the middle advance to bring Contreras in for the first run of the game for the Milwaukee Brewers, still with only 1 out. And the weak contact would continue with another ball left over the plate for Jonathan Aranda, loading the bases, still with only 1 out in the first. Sasaki's day looking in danger. Bases loaded for Brendan Donovan, thankfully. Sasaki would be able to get out of the first inning. On offense, we were likely going to struggle just as we did last game, but not with Kevin McGonigle early on in the first getting a single to start off the game. But Roki Sasaki's struggles did not hold just to the first inning, as Jackson Chourio would hit a ball in the gap just over Max Clark's head for a home run to make it 2-0 Milwaukee in the top of the second. And Roki Sasaki would eventually calm down, finding his way into the fourth, but also defended by fantastic defenders. Sebastian Walcott reaching out to snag a ball from getting down into the outfield, before Grisham would hit one right in the gap. Oh! But Walker Jenkins, phenomenal defense to snag the ball in the 4th inning, which is where our offense would finally wake up. Oh my God! Oh my God, I love you! I love you so much. Oh, get down. Get down. Let's go. Over the hit. Then the double. He's not the minimum Clark. He's the maximum Clark. Maximum Clark. More Clark than anyone. More Clark. More Clark than anyone could have asked for! More Clark! You're afraid. You feel fear. You feel fear. You see Kevin McGonigle in your mirror and you feel fear. Everyone feels fear around him. You're afraid. Oh, no. Throw the bat, Vladdy. After our little offensive outburst, it was 2-2 before Michael Busch takes a line drive right off of Brant Herter, and Walcott unable to field it, getting a Michael Busch on, but more importantly, taking, it looks like, Brant Herter out of the game for a little while. He was down. Dingler came over to look at him, but wasn't going to be good for him before we moved to the 8th inning when McGonigle came back up. Kevin. Oh my God, Kevin. Oh, it's only a double. But once again, we weren't able to capitalize on McGonigle, and by the bottom of the 9th, basically, if your name wasn't Kevin McGonigle, you weren't getting on base. We were going to be going to extras after Colt Keith flies out at the end of the 9th. And so at the top of extras, Louis Varland on the mound, full count. Oh, no. And Contreras takes the lead off of the home run. We would kind of need a miracle, but it wouldn't come to pass. The Milwaukee Brewers would come and take this game as we weren't able to add any more run support. And so Game 3 would be in Milwaukee. With a tied 1-1 series going on the road, we need to win a game in Milwaukee, which means we're going to need a little bit more offense from this team. We need something from Max Clark. We need something from Vladdy, because right now, it's just Kevin McGonigle as he's hitting 500 at the beginning of this series so far in the playoffs, as we're going to have to take down Kyle Harrison, who is a very difficult left-handed pitcher to face. And it was going to be an even more difficult thing to overcome if we were to continue to let off weak hits in the first inning. Bryce Harang starts with a weak single into center field, and what could be a quick double play is messed up as Colt Keith throws a ball, skies it over Walcott's head to at least only leave runners on the corners, but that could have been a double play, and instead leads to Michael Busch getting a ball right out of Colt Keith's outstretched arm down the line and giving Milwaukee an early lead in the first inning of this game. And Colt Keith's defensive errors did put us behind, which meant that my patience was wearing thin with the third baseman. Good job, Colt. But it wasn't going to be all problems for our offense, as Zaire Hope would come in the top of the third. Oh my, let's go! Let's go! Awesome, let's go, Zaire! Just a clean swing, You can really hear the difference in my mood for different batters. The Maximum Clark. More Clark than you could ask for! With a single. But outside of the offensive bursts early on in this game, this really was a pitching duel. And William Contreras did scare me as we were tied 1-1 in the bottom of the 6th, but Zaire Hope came in clutch once again defensively. This game would actually go to extras before Morahone would walk Walcott to walk the bases loaded for us. And Jose DePaula would come up. Jose! And I was rightfully excited as we would take a 3-1 lead in the top of the 10th. Look, the entire crowd was excited. DePaula hasn't really been that useful for us the entire time. And with a great defensive play by Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in the bottom of the 10th, we would be able to hold off the Milwaukee Brewers to take the series back 2-1 in Milwaukee. So Game 4 would be Brandon Sproat of the Milwaukee Brewers versus our ace. I guess not technically, but Seth Hernandez, the guy we traded to be our ace in this one. And once again, at the bottom of the first, we would continue the trend of not being able to get out of the first inning hitless as Bryce Harang would let a ball drop down in the outfield. But Walker Jenkins would respond promptly in the top of the second by getting a ground ball down into the gap to get a quick double in the top of the second. And he would be followed up by probably my favorite player at this point. Oh, Zaire? That should be a run. Is he going to get home? Yeah, he's going to beat Churio. Let's go. Zaire! And Seth Hernandez would show his stuff, striking out Jonathan Aranda. Honestly, Seth Hernandez was phenomenal in this game, striking out 10 batters, just absolutely dominating, only giving up the one hit to Bryce Terang early in this game. And in the top of the 6th, Zaire Hope would supplement it with another insurance run, getting a sac fly to bring in Kevin McGonigle to make it 2-0. Now, we did have one more scare, as in the 8th inning, Brendan Donovan hit a grounder over to Colt Keith.
What are you doing, Colt? God damn it, Colt! God damn it!
And my leash was getting so short with Colt Keith, really frustrating me over the last 2 games. But we ended up getting out of the jam with Alex Vesia, which did mean Seth Hernandez would rack up a victory here in Milwaukee to take a 3-1 lead over the Brewers. And so with the Brewers on the back foot, they would rely on Jacob Mizorowski coming in for Game 5 against Kumar Rocker. This was going to be a tough one. We just had to survive the Miz this one because he does strike out McGonigle early on, and the Miz had some insane stuff going. But Kumar Rocker, once again, the bottom of the 1st for us, not being an inning that we like, as Contreras hits a home run to lead off the game for the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, Miz was untouchable in this one. We could not see him early in this one, swinging at everything, striking out every batter. We batted all the way around with 8 strikeouts in the first 3 innings before Kevin McGonigle would come up, and finally Mizorowski would have to pitch around him, and we could get on base.
Good eye.
But with a runner on base, he would throw a little pickoff pitch over to Michael Busch, and something catastrophic would happen as Kevin McGonigle has injured his hand.
You gotta be fucking kidding me. You gotta be kidding me.
All the air in the lungs of Detroit Tigers fans, as well as Detroit Tigers players, seem to have left the building as we start to struggle. Rocker walking Michael Busch, but still in a position for a double play as Jonathan Aranda hits a ball over to the shortstop, which Max Anderson, filling in and not expecting to play this game, is unable to field and makes a mistake, leaving Brendan Donovan up, which could be out of here as there's one out, and the ball gets down in front of him, loading up the bases for Jackson Chourio in the next at-bat, who would strike out, or would he? As he challenges the pitch, the ump gives it to us, but the ABS says no, and Chourio would get another chance, and that ball would be just deep enough for a grand slam. Dylan Dingler would try to come in and defend his friend Kevin McGonigle to get us back in this game, hitting 2 home runs actually late in this one, both of them being deep into the outfield, both left and right opposite fields, but it wasn't enough. We do not score enough runs, and the Milwaukee Brewers and Jacob Mizorowski does take the Game 5.
Oh my God.
Are you kidding me? Okay. We lose McGonigle. I felt like we lost all the air. There was a chance. We started to feel Dingler did something, but oh no. And so we would go back to Detroit. Game 6, Elmer Rodriguez on the mound, but like LeBron said about the 2016 Warriors, I think that we might not be that big of a threat anymore. Michael Busch would get a ball over down the line at past Gage Workman, who I did put in as we moved Colt Keith over to second base for this game so that we could play Walcott. And that does give them a 1-0 lead in the top of the 1st. And in the top of the 2nd, Jackson Chourio would come up in a 1-2 count, ground the ball over to Colt Keith, and he would actually field the ball correctly. But we would go into the top of the 3rd for Trent Grisham, who would get a ball deep into the gap, and once again, as we have seen many times, just over our heads to be out of the park for the Milwaukee Brewers to take a 2-0 lead. But we still had our opportunity to respond, as Max Clark would come up at the bottom of the 3rd.
Maximum Clark! A whole lot of Clark! Get down! Let's go!
And we would get a runner on second for Gage Workman.
Let's go! Gage Workman! Let's go, Gage! Step up!
To make it a 2-1 game. But things would fall apart as we move to the bullpen. Contreras hits a 3-run home run. Michael Busch hits another 2-run shot after, as we would get absolutely smacked in the rest of Game 6, the team just not getting enough offense outside of Max Clark and Gage Workman in the 3rd inning. And so going into Game 7, we had very little wind left in our sails, and Milwaukee had kind of found our weakness was without Kevin McGonigle. In fact, their offense had really woken up as our pitchers started to struggle, and our offense has been weak outside of McGonigle the entire time. So to try to change things up, we're going to go with an opener, a left-handed pitcher, one of the only ones we have, in Hunter Barco to start the game versus Kyle Harrison. And to start off the game, it actually went really, really well. Hunter Barco finally got us out of that cursed first inning without giving up a single hit. Very unique opportunity for us. And in the 2nd inning, which we actually kept him in, he also struck out 2 more batters, pitching a phenomenal first 2 innings to get us 0-0. And in the bottom of the 3rd,
Go! Stay fair! No! Okay, all right, get down. Get down. Damn it. God, I thought we had it.
I feel like that was the sentiment of my feelings and also this team's feelings, as after Zaire Hope was unable to really perform, Roki Sasaki had come in and started to struggle walking to batters before Kyle Tucker would come up and get a ground ball right into the gap. We just couldn't really do much here to stop it. Zaire could not throw the ball down into home in time. And so in the top of the 4th, we were down. Sasaki did kind of piece it back together, getting a strikeout on Shurio to end that, but we were unable to hit. Kyle Harrison pitching a gem. We couldn't hit in this game. Max Clark came up in the bottom of the 4th and struck out as well. We just could not hit Kyle Harrison.
Oh no.
The baseball gods had thrown us some hope. Harrison went down, but we still just... Brewers bats had figured out our pitching. LaGrange gave out a double down the line to get Contreras on, and when Kyle Tucker would come up to bat against LaGrange right after in a 1-2 count, the ball looked the same as always.
It's over.
And I might sound whiny, but honestly, this was several days of recording, and we just fell apart here. We were really falling apart. We couldn't pitch. LaGrange really struggled here in the 6th. Michael Busch gets on, and then Shurio comes up against Brant Herter, who's back from injury, and even Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is making mistakes. It's the top of the 6th. We are struggling to just get ourselves out of innings. Brant Herter would then give up a ground rule double just over the head of Walker Jenkins. Look, at this point, we were really hopeful. Jose DePaula started a little rally in the bottom of the 9th, and maybe we have a shot. Maybe we can come back down from 5 runs in the bottom of the 9th. Max Clark would come up. He would walk Max Clark. We'd have runners on 2nd, 1st, just in time for the middle of our lineup. Max Anderson. If that's Kevin McGonigle, that's probably a hit.
I think we're out.
There goes the 3-1. Oh, we lose because we lose a 3-1.
God. That was 10 hours of watching that to lose.
Michael Busch wins back-to-back World Series MVPs. And we lost our shortstop right at the wrong time. After 10 hours of watching the CPU lose us a 3-1 lead, actually 4 days in real time, that was demoralizing. So we had to try to kind of move on and figure out how we're going to adjust this lineup. Now, this was kind of a fluke. We got there because McGonigle was insane. And then when McGonigle went down, it was over. What are we going to do to try to make up for it? These 3 bullpen arms are going to go. We have been drafting a lot of guys. We have a fantastic farm system. It's time to move on to the new young guys. The other guy that I think is going to be on his way out is Mackenzie Gore. Now, he had a great season this last year. I think it's time to capitalize on his value. We have our prospects that I want to see up at the major league level, and I think in order to do so, Mackenzie Gore has got to go. I don't know what I'm going to get back for him yet, but we are going to be trading away Mackenzie Gore. We are going to be loading up our trade block this year. The big pieces are going to be Gore, Rocker, and Max Anderson. The Red Sox have countered a trade offer to get Mackenzie Gore for a top 100 prospect that is a catcher, which could be really, really good because he's got a fantastic bat. And then another top prospect there too. I'm going to hold off because I have another trade out there on Gore. I'm going to wait 1 second and see if that goes the next day. Otherwise, we'll come back and do this deal. And so Mackenzie Gore is going to go off to Boston. And we resolve a second base problem by getting an older veteran player in Ketel Marte to come here for Kumar Rocker, Briseño, Ryan Clifford, and Mason Montgomery. A couple guys that I think are all major league talents. And I don't think Ketel is a long-term solution. He's a one-year deal. But that should hold off the problem we had when we lost McGonigle and had to move Walcott over to short and had to rely on Max Anderson. And this wasn't necessarily the best value, but I'm going to be losing guys on the 40-man. So we're going to consolidate some talent. Morabito, Anderson, and Jace Young. I'm going to send all to Cleveland. We're going to get a backup first baseman / DH option in Andrew Vaughn. So we have a new starting pitcher as opening day is going to start with Elmer Rodriguez on the mound instead of Mackenzie Gore. But the fun things this year is K. De La Sixto, Francisco Styles, Cesar Barrero, and Andres Franco are all going to come up in the rotation this year. K. De La Sixto starting in the starting lineup. If Roki struggles again, Styles will take his place, but Styles does look more like a bullpen arm. And we're to the point now where this lineup's getting really deep and just kind of full, but honestly, I think this is one of the best lineups we put together. We added Andrew Vaughn as our DH, and we added Ketel Marte at second base, which allows Walcott to play a little bit less, Keith to play a little bit less if we need him. We brought up Caleb Bonham, and the outfield is going to stay the same with Walker, Zaire, and Max Clark. And opening day starts out right with Rodriguez only going 4 innings. He doesn't have a lot of stamina, but he still ended up having a great outing. We get the win 7-2 in our first game of the season. K. De La Sixto would make his debut against the Arizona Diamondbacks a little bit later in the week, and it would be a fantastic performance. Struggles a little bit in the first inning, giving up a few hits, gives up a run, but honestly, after he recomposed himself, this dude pitched phenomenally. 10 strikeouts in 7 innings. He also had no pressure because the offense scored 22 runs, including 2 homers from Ketel, 2 from McGonigle, 2 from Vladdy, 1 from Vaughn, 1 from Hope, 1 from Dingler. Insane offensive game. A couple weeks into the season, and this offense is potent. 338, 356, 267, but still 4 home runs from Max Clark, 351 from Vladdy, 348 with 8 homers from Vaughn, 293 from Hope, 260 from Dingler, 270 from Jenkins, 250 from Bonham. Yeah, this offense has been fantastic to start. We're third in average, though, because the Brewers are ridiculous. We had to move Francisco Styles into the starting rotation because this dude is phenomenal. He has been pitching insane. 173 with a 106 whip. Man, this is crazy. He doesn't even have like ridiculous stuff that you would think he would have, but going from the bullpen to the starting lineup, fantastic. And K. De La Sixto, honestly, great season so far too. Roki, no. At the All-Star break, we're a half game behind the Chicago White Sox, who continue to be a very dominant force in this league. Our offense is better, their pitching staff is a little bit better, but hey, it's going to be a close race, I think, all the way to the end. So none of our starters are going to be all-stars just yet, and that's okay. I think it's a little early in their careers, but we did get Cesar Barrero to be an all-star as his rookie year as a closer. We also got Dylan Dingler to be an all-star. He's got 22 homers right now, leading the way amongst catchers. Andrew Vaughn as a phenomenal DH pickup, 84 RBIs, 24 home runs, and 317 average. He's obviously being outpaced by Devers back with Boston, but the RBI number might actually be high enough to put him in an MVP conversation. We also have, of course, Kevin McGonigle in the race with 26 homers, 65 RBIs, and a 360 average. It's McGonigle. That's just what he does. And we also got Max Clark, the most possible Clark, in as the only center fielder, actually. 292, 24 home runs. I mean, our offense is really potent. We follow up our World Series appearance last year with 112 wins, winning our division. We're going to be taking on the winner of the wild card playoff game. Kevin McGonigle gets a Hank Aaron Award for the highest OPS. Again, he's got a bunch of those. We also get Rookie of the Year for Cade De La Sixto. Our top #1 prospect gets the Rookie of the Year, and Kevin McGonigle gets the batting title. Doesn't get the MVP as Rafi Devers hits 59 home runs for the Boston Red Sox, beating out a fantastic season for McGonigle. He just can't seem to get that MVP. Too bad. Cy Young goes to Joe Bryant, but our two rookies are right behind him. De La Sixto and Francisco Styles. 377 for De La Sixto, 194 for Styles, but 17-1. What a season. If he started from the beginning, maybe we would have had an actual shot. And I also think like there's a good question of these two, which one was better? He's a 90. He started as an 84. That's a 7 overall jump. That was a 6 overall. Oh my God, that was awesome. Okay, well, we have our franchise pitchers. What the hell? NL MVP goes to another Met, of this time Junior Caminero, because he got 60 home runs. Cy Young goes to Paul Skeens again with the Braves. Styles leads in ERA, winning percentage, De La Sixto in wins, Rodriguez in shutouts and complete games. Then we get McGonigle in batting average, slugging percentage, OPS with a 1,093, and WAR with 9.4. Man, this young core, I guess they're not even like super young now. McGonigle's been in the league for a long time. It's 2031, but God, it is so good. Just taking a quick look over this pitching staff. Rodriguez, 388 with a 1.21 whip, 314 with a 1.22 from Hernandez. Job was the worst one with a 3.4 and 1.33 whip. Then you had an insane season from Francisco Styles and Cade De La Sixto. Wow, this pitching staff is great. Sasaki and LaGrange are terrible, but hey, they have lost their spots. Barco wasn't that good. Alvarez wasn't that good. Melton wasn't that good. Holton was great. Barrero was pretty good. So our bullpen still needs a lot of work, but hey, we've got so many guys in the system ready to come up to the leagues. I just love that we have a fantastic starting rotation, even if Elmer is not progressing anymore. And we do break the season home run record, getting 321, beating out also the White Sox do the same thing, hitting 308. I mean, we had a really potent offense. Supplied by 3 guys with over a 900 OPS, including McGonigle's 1,093 OPS, 338 average, 47 home runs with a 9.4 WAR. Another crazy season from him. Max Clark, 32 home runs, 286 average, 81 RBIs, and a 905 OPS, 903 from Andrew Vaughn. Fantastic DH pickup there. Zaire Hope has continuously proved he's probably our best acquisition in the lineup. Now, WAR-wise, 5.2 WAR from him. Marte with 4.9, Walker Jenkins 5.5, 7.4 from Max Clark. We're seeing just phenomenal production, everybody except for Lazaro Montes, I guess, on this team, where really everybody performed at an above average level to create a really, really good offense. We start our playoff series against our division rival, the Chicago White Sox. Elmer Rodriguez on the mound versus Logan Webb. This White Sox team has been very good this entire time we've been rebuilding, but we need to make sure that we have the upper hand here. We do win 5-3. Andrew Alvarez getting Game 1's victory. Hernandez versus Shane Smith in Game 2 is a 4-2 victory. Before we go to Chicago, can Job take down Noah Schultz? He can. We get a sweep. We're going to go take on the New York Yankees in the ALCS. Styles on the mound for Game 1 versus Schlittler. His first playoff appearance. Styles against the New York Yankees is going to lose. It gives up 1 run, essentially, in this game as we lose 1-2. Other rookie, Cade De La Sixto versus Steven Kolek in Game 2 in Detroit is a 3-1 victory, as our 2 rookies put together great performances, but are leave us 1-1. So we have to go to New York. We have to win a game. Elmer versus Fried in Game 3 is going to be a 3-5 loss. We're down by 1 run, or 1 game. Hernandez versus Bayo, we do win, so it's 2-2 for Joe versus Schlittler in Game 5. We do lose. We are on the back foot. It's going to be the rookies, Styles and De La Sixto, for Game 6 and 7. We get the win for a chance to go for our rematch against the Brewers It's going to be Cade De La Sixto in Game 7. So our rookie, the number one prospect in baseball, Cade De La Sixto, it's all up to him against what is a phenomenal roster. The New York Yankees, a chance to go back to the World Series. Can De La Sixto do the job he needs to do? Starting off against Jason Dominguez, can De La Sixto have a good outing here? Can our rookie hold off for Game 7? Strikeout. Ben Rice flies out. Judge pops out. Good first inning. Ketel Marte against Max Fried with a solo shot to lead it off. That's going to be a good start. McGonigle flies out. Clark strikes out, and Vaughn gets nothing. But we're up 1 after a solo shot from Marte. Max Fried gets a pop out. Then a walk for Max Clark, who I think can steal second. He does. For Andrew Vaughn with a walk. Men on first and second for Vladdy, who walks. Bases loaded for Zaire Hope. Fielder's choice, we get nothing. Dylan Dingler, bases loaded, grounds out, we get nothing out of that. Can you give me another inning? The 6th inning for Cade De La Sixto. Pop out. Strikeout. Ben Rice gets on with a defensive mistake, but we get him out of the jam with a strikeout on Judge. McGonigle up against Max Fried with a strikeout. Clark, single, man on first for Andrew Vaughn. They're going to David Peterson. Fly out. Vladdy gets a double. We're up 2-0. Into the bottom of the 6th for Zaire Hope with a strikeout. Do I want to go another inning against this group? I don't trust my bullpen that much. We don't have a very good bullpen, so I think we try it. Top of the 7th for De La Sixto. Fly out. Fly out. Lombard gets a single and a strikeout. 7 fantastic innings for De La Sixto. That'll be the end of his day. The rookie is a hero tonight. 2-run shot. Walker Jenkins. We're up 4-0. Bonnemer with a line out. Marte doubles. McGonigle against Ryan Zeferjan flies out. He's 0 for 4 on the night. Max Clark with a double. We're up 5-0. Strikeout. We're going to go the pitching change and go over to, just give me right, lefty, righty. Okay, we're just going to go Roki. He's got playoff experience. Gives up a solo shot to Spencer Jones. Ground out for Sanoa. Solo shot for Dominguez. Strikeout. Fly out. We get out of the jam, but we do give up 2 runs to do it. Vladdy gets a solo shot to respond. It's 6-2. Ground out. Solo shot from Dingler. It's 7-2. Single for Jenkins. Double. Bonnemer puts it on. 2 men on for Brent Hedrick. Walk. Bases loaded for Kevin McGonigle, who finally gets a hit and a single, and it's 9-2. Max Clark makes it 10-2. Bases loaded for Vladdy, who walks it in. It's 11-2. Fielder's choice for Will Klein. We get out of the jam. We'll just let Roki pitch the rest of it. Or you know what? Maybe we shouldn't, because Roki sucks. But we get out of it. We're going to advance back to the World Series to take on the Milwaukee Brewers. A fantastic performance from Cade De La Sixto in this one. Our rookie of the year starting pitcher ends up putting together one of the best performances I've had out of a young pitcher ever in this game. We are going back to the World Series, and also the offense really showing up when it was necessary, when it counted. See you in Milwaukee. And so back in Detroit for our rematch against the Milwaukee Brewers, hoping this time, while being fully healthy, we can finally finish the job. And it would start off really good with Elmer Rodriguez pitching very, very well early on in the game against the Milwaukee Brewers. And in the first inning, Max Clark walked and Kevin McGonigle got an early single to get 2 men on for Zaire Hope, who would rock a 3-run shot to give us a 3-0 lead early on in the first inning. In the second inning, then we'd get back to McGonigle, who would hit another home run of his own to make it 4-0 Detroit. But the Milwaukee bats weren't completely silent. Michael Busch would end up getting an early double in order to be able to get themselves on the board, and we would make a move to Troy Melton, which would be a massive mistake. Jonathan Aranda with a 3-run home run early on in that one, actually getting a couple hits in this one to make it tied at 4-4. Brendan Donovan would hit a ball into a gap for an extra run, and then Jackson Churio would hit another one to make it 6-4 in this one as he would hit a ball into the gap. Now, Andrew Vaughn in the 8th inning would hit a ball perfectly into the gap to score another run, closing it down to 6-5. The sweet swing hitting it just deep enough to advance the runner. But we were running out of time, and our bullpen thankfully did survive. But Zaire Hope hits a ball deep into the outfield. Maybe we can tie it 6-6. But the ball lands just short of the fence. The double, not enough. We are unable to supplement his offense, and we end up losing game 1 6-5 to the Milwaukee Brewers as our bullpen significantly falls apart after a pretty good performance by Elmer Rodriguez early on in game 1. And it's our starting pitching that I'm confident in, not our bullpen. So in game 2, when we had Seth Hernandez on the mound versus Spencer Schwellenbach, I felt incredibly confident in our pitching ability. And Hernandez showed it through and through, dominating for 6 innings, only giving up 1 hit early on in the game with 10 strikeouts. A phenomenal first 6 innings of play for him. And he was getting some run support as well, mainly from Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who was really silent last year in the World Series. This year, finding a response with an early home run. Now, Schwellenbach got hurt. They had to bring in Brandon Sproat, and that even helped us more, as then Vladdy would come up with another big hit, later getting another double to advance some more runners, and Andrew Vaughn with a home run to make it a little bit extra run support for us. But then we went once again to Tyler Melton, which I don't think is a smart decision by AJ Hinch, and it was shown right away as Jackson Chourio would hit a ball deep into the gap, and then Bryce Terang would come up with 2 runners on and score, making it 4-3. But thankfully, we were able to stop any extra runs. Cesar Barrero comes in to close the game. We do win game 2, 4-3, thanks to the great pitching of Seth Hernandez, as well as the phenomenal performance by Vladdy, 3 extra base hits. So the question going into Milwaukee for Game 3, tied 1-1, would be whether or not our pitching, and especially our starting pitching, would be able to hold up consistently. We just had a great performance by Hernandez, and now it was going to be Emerson Hancock versus Jackson Jobe. And early on, we actually started off struggling a little bit. Jobe gave up an early double in the first inning to William Contreras and would be responded by another home run by Bryce Terang, who now had 2 in the series, letting Bernie slide down that slide to give the Brewers a 2-0 lead. But no fear, we did respond. Walker Jenkins gets a single down into right field, and with that, we actually have a runner on just in time for Sebastian Walcott to hit a home run, something we normally hadn't seen, tied the game at 2-2. For Zaire Hope would get a home run of his own to make it 3-2, giving us a lead. But once again, we would make the same mistake. AJ Hinch would bring in Troy Melton, and the Brewers' offense wakes right back up. Brendan Donovan hits a home run. William Contreras would come up and get a deep double into the gap before Bryce Terang would come up again for his 4th home run in the series, his 2nd today. There would be a couple more from Chourio. Aranda would hit a ball deep into a gap. Essentially, we collapsed. But we needed to get some sort of momentum back. And so game 4, we had the perfect target to do so. Casey Mize, former Detroit Tiger, on the mound with Francisco Styles. And we rocked Casey Mize. Hit after hit, home run after home run. Zaire Hope took him deep. We had McGonigle take him deep, and Francisco Styles was dealing in this one, was basically unhittable. And with our offense being able to hit almost every person on this team, able to get a ball down, Dingler, Walcott hit a home run. It was going to be very, very difficult for this team to keep up, especially because Styles was so good in this one. Walker Jenkins gets on base. We end up getting Ketel Marte to hit him in. Pretty much every time somebody got in, somebody would hit them in with a home run. And Styles pitched all the way fantastic until we went to the bullpen again, and Andrew Alvarez gave up a home run to Bryce Terang to start off his first inning of pitching. And then we got a deep double from Jesus Mate, which then led to his former minor league companion Luis Pena hitting a home run to hit him in. Wasn't going to be enough. We did get a little bit more hits coming from Andrew Vaughn late as we win this one pretty handedly in Milwaukee. So going into Game 5, the pivotal game of the series, the Brewers brought out the same strategy they did to us last year. It was time for the Miz, but we had a secret weapon up our sleeve, and that was Cade De La Sixto. We didn't have him last year, and this year, Cade came just slinging straight heat. Every single batter, just one after another, knocking him down, strikeout after strikeout after strikeout. He went the first 5 innings without letting up a single batter get on base before a little weak single came from Brendan Donovan, but it wasn't just our pitching that was dominant. It seems like facing Mizorowski as many times as we have, we started to actually get his number. Home run from Vaughn, double from Vaughn, home run from McGonigle early on in the game. As he progressed into the 3rd inning, we got a home run from Ketel Marte. And even later in this game, which they tried to hold on to Miz for probably way too long, we ended up getting Max Clark getting a deep hit, not a home run, a double, but then they went to the bullpen. They really struggled to pitch against how good our offense was. He didn't go perfect, but Cade De La Sixto did give up only 1 run in 9 innings of play. 9-1 win, honestly, for us. Cade De La Sixto with 15 strikeouts. The rookies on this pitching staff are so good, but we wouldn't have a rookie to be able to rely on for Game 6. It would be back to Elmer Rodriguez with the ball in his hand against Spencer Schwellenbach, who did not actually suffer a major injury. Schwellenbach started off the game great, striking out a bunch of batters. Basically, we went all the way to the 4th inning before we could get any offense. Elmer Rodriguez did just about the same thing. Great start. This turned into a classic pitcher's duel for us. But offense would start to kind of come. Jonathan Aranda would hit a deep double. Andrew Vaughn would respond by hitting a home run to give us a 1-0 lead in the game. But then Elmer left a pitch over the middle. Michael Busch took it. It was 1-1. And we would move into the 8th inning tied, as it would turn into just who could get that last extra run of offense. In the 8th inning, Camilo Doval on the mound against Zaire Hope, trying to close out the 8th. We do get a grounder, which is almost fielded, but not going to be enough. We do have a runner on in the bottom of the 8th with a chance to score, but Camilo Doval, absolute fantastic appearance against Andrew Vaughn, striking him out. We would bring in Cesar Barrero in the top of the 9th, our closer, trying to close our game. And Barrero, absolutely phenomenal, striking out Jeremy Pena, actually striking out the side, which would lead to us in the bottom of the 9th against Camilo Doval. He would strike out Walker Jenkins in order to get down to one of his last batters, and Dylan Dingler would come up, and everything would change with a deep fly to outfield.
Oh my God, Dylan Dingler. Oh my God, Dylan Dingler. We are World Series champions. Dylan Dingler. Are you kidding me? With the walk-off in the 9th. The walk-off home run, Dylan Dingler. He showed that he had power last year in the World Series, and this year he does it again. Coming in clutch in a pitcher's duel. His home run is gonna be the game winner. It's gonna be all we needed to see to beat the Milwaukee Brewers and get our vengeance on last season. Dylan Dingler, one of the few actual Detroit Tigers that have remained on this roster. I'm so glad we kept him. I'm so glad we didn't invest in like Ethan Salas, because Dylan Dingler is going to come up clutch in this one. And the Detroit Tigers are going to win the 2031 World Series in Detroit, behind an Elmer Rodriguez masterclass in Game 6. We are World Series champions. Kevin McGonigle finally gets a trophy that's not a Hank Aaron award to put in his trophy case. And all of these prospects, it worked. the fire sale, the sell-off, it all worked. We're going to be hoisting a World Series trophy in Detroit. World Series MVP is Vladimir Guerrero Jr., playoff MVP Walker Jenkins, finally taking down the Michael Busch train, as we are finally on top in the... Wow. All right, what a great way to end that World Series and get our revenge on Milwaukee. But this team is still super young. Kevin McGonigle here, Max Clark, K. De La Sixto is still a rookie. Phenomenal performances, by the way, in the postseason. He really came in clutch. Zaire Hope, Walker Jenkins. This team is still incredibly young with so much more room to go. And I think one thing we have to think about is still evaluating what those trades ended up being. And in order to do so, we can't end here, because these players still have to play out those contracts to see whether or not we actually ended up winning it. Caleb Bonham is in his first year. We have a little bit more to go. However, we are just going to sim the next 5 seasons, let the CPU take over the Tigers, see what results happen, and then we'll check in to see just how well everybody played for the rest of their careers.
What you doing when you're up? Say that cause you sleep half of the day and it's a love. That's my favorite part, the other half I took my love. Like, oh, like where you at? I'm not feeling my past. I might ask my friend to come through, smoke a pack. Anything to get my mind off you, throwing it back is a fact. I don't know what's up. Tell me what the word and I'll tell you to speak up. Isn't that what love is? Isn't this enough? I'm the only one in this club that you can trust.
Sadly, our montage sequence will have to end there, as Kevin McGonigle has broken into what I call the DH bug,
For those of you who do not know what I'm talking about, I have a short that I will also link here, but essentially, at a certain point, players stop regressing when they are in the DH position, meaning they will be able to play forever, performing at the same level they were performing in at their prime. So Kevin McGonigle will continue to put up 7 to 8 WAR seasons on a regular basis for the rest of eternity, which would be fun to rack up as stats, but there's a bug where it essentially won't do that. But that doesn't mean we can't compile what was one of the greatest careers of all time. 7 MVPs by the end of it. He ended up also getting 8 World Series titles in that time span, and overall ending up with, the crazy thing to me is actually this 1,000 career OPS mark that he stayed above for his entire career. And then the other fun stat, the 143.7 WAR. That's fun to just look at Kevin McGonigle, but honestly, overall, we have to still assess whether or not we did a good job in our fire sale. I'd say the titles did definitely say it, but I don't know if we won every single trade. We'll start off with one of the first trades that we ended up making between the New York Yankees, where we acquired Carlos LaGrange and Elmer Rodriguez for Casey Mize and Will Vest. Both Mize and Vest didn't have a whole lot of time on their contracts, so the Yankees were only able to acquire 5.6 WAR production between Mize and Vest in essentially 26 and 27. Though both of those did result in ALCS wins and World Series appearances. But due to the long-term nature of the deal, we end up likely coming out on top as a retrospective, coming out 23.1 WAR up. Now, not necessarily as successful as we would have liked to be. LaGrange was decent, but Elmer Rodriguez was really our standout between the two players. He ended up winning Rookie of the Year, was an opening day starter and all-star, and was a big part to all 5 of the World Series teams he was on between 2027 and 2036. Going to our least consequential trade was probably the Chicago White Sox deal. Now, technically we win this one pretty easily. Jack Flaherty and Kenley Jansen only played 1 year. These were expiring deals, and we got Caleb Bonham in return. However, he didn't show up until the mid-2030s and didn't really even produce much for us. He did end up having a great career when he went to Tampa Bay in 2036, ended up raking up 303 career home runs in his career till 2044. And on the opposite side of the least consequential is probably the most consequential big-term deal that we did. That was the Skubal deal, sending him to LA for Zaire Hope, Jose DePaula, Roki Sasaki, and Teoscar Hernandez, who we redirected in a later deal. Starting off, we ended up getting good performances from these guys, now not as much as we would have liked. DePaula only ended up with 3.9 WAR, Sasaki was a mediocre pitcher, and Zaire Hope was pretty good as kind of our throw-in piece of the deal. Hope ended his career with over 2,000 hits and 300 home runs, was an ALCS MVP, and did win 6 World Series on our roster. But missing out on Skubal is going to be a massive question. Technically, we can value this as a victory if we just consider the 2026 year of the contract that we gave up. He performed and got 6.6 WAR, but the Dodgers did win a World Series out of this. You can't necessarily say that they lost this deal by giving up the prospects they did. And in fact, because this helps them re-sign him long-term, when all things were said and done, they almost acquired 40 WAR from him, just with them. No more World Series, but 2 Cy Youngs, and he did rack up over 3,000 Ks in his career. Overall, this is probably actually a loss for us, but we did provide more value just in the contract time. Now, our deal with the Reds was actually probably the least important one. We gave up pretty much nothing with Gleyber Torres and Teoscar Hernandez. In fact, the Reds got negative WAR from them, and we got Collier and Luis May. May we traded for essentially nothing, and then Cam Collier was actually very essential in getting Vladimir Guerrero onto the roster. But our first actual big victory of a trade was with the Texas Rangers, where we gave up Framber Valdez and Reese Olson for Sebastian Walcott and Kumar Rocker. Huge trade disparity in WAR between the two deals. Admittedly, this is because the Texas Rangers had to sell really fast. They traded away Framber Valdez right into the second year of the deal for Juan Brito and Ralphie Velasquez, who didn't come up for 6 years or provide any real positive value. And in fact, in the second year of these contracts for Olsen and Valdez, the Rangers were the worst team in baseball with 101 losses. Meanwhile, both Walcott and Rocker were productive players for us on our rosters, all the way until almost being part of the World Series team for Rocker, but way more essential for Walcott through his entire career. Walcott racked up 29 WAR in his rookie contract, but overall, by 2037, when he eventually left the team, he had 2 Gold Gloves, almost 1,300 hits, an All-Star, and almost 40 WAR in the 6 World Series that he was able to play. Definitely not as productive as I think he would have liked to be, but still a fantastic piece. Now, the most one-sided deal was actually the Twins deal. Now, because I did this as a montage, we didn't get to see what was happening. The Twins did have a 10-game lead in the AL Central, and they were full-on buying, and they needed a first baseman and a shortstop, so we were able to really capitalize on it and give them Torkelson and Baez. But by the second year of those deals, those 2 guys were worthless. They provided 0 value, actually negative value, in consideration of Torkelson, and we got Walker Jenkins. Just during his rookie contract, he ended up racking up 29.8 WAR before 2034 and was a part of 3 different World Series teams. But Jenkins played all the way until 2041, and in that time he racked up Rookie of the Year, and the big piece being 4 times in the top 3 of the MVP. He had 5 All-Stars, 5 Silver Sluggers, and was part of 7 of our World Series titles, racking up 390 home runs and 50 WAR as a Detroit Tiger. And so following a definitive win, one where we probably fleeced the Twins, we have to go look at a deal where we might have actually lost, where in the contract time, it was actually pretty even between the Pirates as well as us in the Riley Greene, Kerry Carpenter, Jake Rogers for Seth. Now starting with Seth. Seth was actually a great player, was part of 3 World Series teams, was always a 90+ overall, just wasn't in Cy Young consideration because he wasn't as good as Cade or Francisco Styles. But in that time, he was a 2-time All-Star, had 40 WAR, over 2,000 strikeouts, 7 World Series, and a 3.45 career ERA. And some of the supplemental pieces the Pirates got didn't even provide a lot of value. Jake Rogers was only there for a year, was very good in that year, and Kerry Carpenter, while hitting a lot of home runs, wasn't valuable long-term. But Riley Greene, maybe we shouldn't have traded him. We may have been desperate for pitchers and trying to get pitching talent, but we lost out on a fantastic outfielder by giving up Riley Greene in this deal. He ended up winning the 2033 MVP, got 46 WAR just with the Pirates, 489 career home runs, 14 All-Stars, 7 Silver Sluggers, 2 Gold Gloves, a World Series MVP, and 2 World Series with the Pittsburgh Pirates, cementing himself as a Hall of Famer with a Pirates cap on. Sadly, we definitely kind of lost this deal. I think Riley Greene would have been really, really valuable to have on this team, even though we did have Walker Jenkins, Max Clark, and Zaire Hope. And so at the end of the day, it's up to you to decide whether or not the fire sale was a full success. But I think 8 rings in the city of Detroit, plus a plethora of MVPs, Cy Youngs from K. De La Sixto, Fred Dodson, so many runners-up for Francisco Styles, and just turning Kevin McGonigle into the greatest player of all time. Hopefully, you've enjoyed what we've created here in Detroit. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please leave a like. Please subscribe if you're still here. Leave a comment down. Give me some engagement. I've been spending way too much time on this video. Anyways, have a good one. Adios.